fighter in training. This week, I've mostly been playing EA Sports UFC.
First up, EA Sports UFC is not a great title, but it's not a bad game. I just don't think it's as good as it could have been. There is some really weird stuff. I mean, first of all, the controls aren't the most intuitive and the most obvious, and they're going to take some getting used to, especially if you don't really understand the sport like Thicky here. Second of all, also up front, I kind of thought Bruce Lee was part of the game, but it turns out he seems to be part... Well, he's in the store. I didn't have him... I don't know. There's a weird thing there. I don't know. Maybe it's just me not understanding it properly. When you get down to it, this is a gorgeous game. Like, it's a stunning game, and when you get EA's game face right, instead of messing around like I did and creating this enormous hulking dreadlock ginger guy with chickens tattooed, as basically anywhere there was available space in the game that it would let me put a tattoo, I put the tattoo that was a chicken. I don't know why, but I did that. Yeah, it's a gorgeous looking game. I don't like all of it, and I really don't like the submission game because that feels awkward and doesn't give me feedback. Like, if I press the maneuver he wants me to press to try and submit someone and nothing happens, there's no feedback. I need to know why that is. That's weird.
Usually, around about here, I'd have a skit for you. Something really funny. Don't have a skit for you this week. But what I do have is a chicken. It's a chicken that goes on top of a fridge. Right?
Apparently the developer of this particular UFC game at EA is the same team, EA Canada, that would have worked on the Fight Night series, which I really liked. Now, being more of a boxing fan, although not much of one, but more of a boxing fan than a UFC fan, what this game made me want is another Fight Night. Like, imagine how Fight Night would look with the focus on the boxing rather than all of it, which must be really difficult to make, let's be fair. Because I found that when I was just punching and kicking in UFC, I was really enjoying the sort of, and it's an overused word, but visceral feel of the punches. The feedback felt right. It's an extremely violent game. There's some horrible, uncomfortable scenes, really, when you watch replays back. But when you get that quick match, and it's like you knock them out within 3 minutes, it feels great. It's just a shame that it doesn't all feel like that. The career mode isn't great. There's weirdness with, FMV clips featuring Dana White and such. But the actual, I suppose, boxing part of the MMA is great. Just the wrestling part is not. There's a basis here of a really, really good series, and I think the second one will be amazing. This one, however, not so sure. It's a good UFC game, just not a great one, which is particularly strange when you consider EA have made one before. There you go.
I'm a chicken! Chicken!
Why do I do this to myself? Is that... No, why did I pick a stupid fantasy game? No cost. Jesus Christ, why did I mostly play The Witcher 2 this week? Is there something over here?
This season of Game of Thrones has been fantastic. I'm sure you know this already because you're a human being on planet Earth. So whether you do watch it or you don't watch it, your Twitter feed will be bombarded every Monday and Tuesday with spoilers and people saying OMG, WTF, and other acronyms of the such, mainly positive ones about Game of Thrones. Now, I was similar, thoroughly enjoyed this season of Game of Thrones, so I needed something in the fantasy realm. Because it was kind of coming to a close, and I decided to go back. And also there's no video games at all because it's 2014 and people have decided that next year will be the year and this year can just fuck off apparently. So I went back to 2011 to The Witcher 2 and I recently finished it. and it absolutely blew me away. It totally grabbed me in a way that, say, Skyrim didn't, because I think I prefer the more directed RPG. So like you can still do your little side quests and whatnot as Geralt of Rivia, and go out and maybe, you know, go under a bridge and kill a troll who asks you for vodka, because fuck him, he can get his own vodka. I'm Geralt of Rivia, motherfucker. But the entire game is still very, very focused, and you're on kind of this very directed path. Plus, also, the one thing it has over Skyrim is great combat, which Skyrim doesn't have, because the combat is shit in that. A great combat, great story, and if you're yet to play it, I implore you to do so, because The Witcher 3 is coming out in like a couple of months. Well, a couple of months. Less than a year, apparently, if it's gonna hit its date. So do play The Witcher 2, and don't be left out in the cold when everyone is talking about Geralt of Rivia's return in 2015.
I wish I had some sort of clever skit or something, but because I've costumes for every occasion, but fucking a fantasy game. Maybe I should have just done The Wolf Among Us again, dressed up like a detective. I apologise. Hold on, let me have another look. Hang on, there has to be something in this fucking thing. I don't know. Did Geralt wear a red, white and blue glittery bow tie?
So after Nintendo's actually quite decent E3 showing the other week, it's reminded me that I still haven't finished Zelda Skyward Sword. And I'm not sure entirely why, because I like the game. But there's been, for one reason or another, I get to a certain stage and I just stop playing for one reason or another. So I figured this week I would start afresh and try and see if I can actually finish the game in time for when the next Zelda eventually pops up on Wii U sometime. So Skyward Sword is as a Zelda game can get. You got your epic quest, a great deal of discovery, and of course the odd bit of dungeon puzzling. And while Twilight Princess probably strayed a little too close to the admittedly overused Zelda template, Skyward Sword kinda gets the balance right. But unfortunately, like previous Zelda games, there's a really big issue with pace. For a start, dialogue is incredibly slow. And I'm not talking slow, I'm talking two-legged tortoise slow. No offence, Gordon. What is done so much better this time around is the combat. Now, I'm the first to admit that I'm not a fan of motion controls, but Skyward Sword is a definite exception to the rule, as the act of being able to roughly place your sword swipes adds a depth to the combat that hasn't really been seen in the series as a whole. It adds a little bit more strategy without becoming too much of a chore, and it'll be interesting to see if that idea carries on to the next Zelda game. And what a gorgeous game this is as well. If only the Wii U could render this game in a higher resolution, but that's beside the point. It's another example of Nintendo choosing a compelling art style rather than technical grunts, and its almost impressionistic visuals really make Skyward Sword stand out from any other game out there. So hopefully I'll finally get the game finished, and then it'll be the long wait till Zelda Wii U, however long that may be. I wish I could click my fingers and make it appear like they did on the Nintendo Direct, but I can't click my fingers.